My name is Dr. Barry, London News, Melbourne. Welcome to the fictional world. As you can see, I'm in a fictional house. If you keep an eye on those pictures up at the top there, they'll start talking soon, but unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, we can't hear them. Well, the purpose of this video today is to promote IDs. Now, why would anybody need an ID? Well, as I said, we live in a fictional world. Vaccinations are here and well and truly on their way, and they're going to force them upon every man, woman, and child. And the only way to that is to object and not consent. Now, if you have an identification, you can say, well, I am not that deceased estate in the capital letters that you're pointing out to. I am a living man and I'm a living woman, and I will make my own decisions. Thank you very much for the offer, but I do not consent. It's very important because we live in a fictional world. Now, in Melbourne here and Australia in general, masks do not have to be worn, but we have a large majority of fools wearing masks. Why are they wearing them? I've asked a few because they believe there's a virus. They've turned the common cold into a weapon, and it's been organized way back from 2013. They were organizing this. And when Donald Trump got in, they made sure that it was released, this virus. Not a virus, there's nothing out there. It's a common cold. They've turned it into a weapon. And now they're going to make a lot of money vaccinating people against their will. Now, the vaccinations, we all know people had flu injections for years, including some members of my family, and they still got a cold. And remember back, I'm 75 now, I'm not in business, so I'm not making any money out of these cards. I spent over $3,000 odd on a machine. So when people pay $55 for one in Australia and they have to charge $65 for overseas, because the postage and the equipment just to cover my costs, right? And I would appreciate if people would send that donation to me. It helps to pay for the things. Okay. Now, I cannot do IDs for people who are not citizens of the country. In other words, if you're an Australian, you're born an Australian, or you're now an Australian citizen, yes, no problems with the ID. If you live in the UK and you're an English citizen, no problems with the ID. I cannot do them if you're trying to gain by fraud any identification. I cannot do that. And the same applies for Ireland. New Zealand, there's friends of mine doing IDs in New Zealand. I can give you the, at the end of this, I'll put the address up for London News and for the UK, or correction, as for New Zealand ID. And the United States, I got some friends in Pennsylvania that are doing IDs for people over there. I will put the email address up at the end of this. Now you see these characters popping up here now and then. Well, they're absolute criminals. And you can say that without any reserve, because all politicians are now acting in a criminal capacity. There is no government. Forget the word government. It doesn't exist. They're private corporations, all owned and controlled by the Democrats. Yes, in the USA, and people say, well, what's the USA got to do with us here? Well, then if you've done your homework and weren't so silly, you'd know. Because Australia is a republic since 1986, thanks to the Gough Whitlam and Bob Hawke. They still have royal commissions with no queen. Our constitution, which you hear continuously in America, the constitution, and that's the only thing holding them, keeping them together, because the constitution is the law of the land. They removed it here unlawfully, and now they've gone corporations. So we have a federal corporation run by a left-wing Democrat called ScoMo or Morrison. We've got this criminal Daniel Andrews here, which is obviously on the payroll of foreign influence, and he's running this state here as well, and they're doing wherever they like. And it's all down to you people, not the guys watching this. You guys are already awake, but it's the fools wearing the masks out there unnecessarily are kowtowing down to these corporations and saying, look how wonderful we are. We're doing exactly what you want. Well, when you get the vaccination, then you can kiss your family, your life, and your health goodbye. Now for the ID, you just send me a photograph, only by email, preferably, your name, address, and the family name. And if you wish, if you want it sent to a different address, a post office box, that's okay. But for an ID, you must have family name, your given names, and of course a lawful address where you are now, or where you actually live, or your driving license is situated at. Even if you don't live there anymore, well, it's up to you whether you change your address or not, but you've got to have a proper lawful address. Post office boxes, no, you can't put a post office box on an ID. I can send it to a post office box, that's not a problem. Information on what's coming up. We're going to be talking to Peter again in New Zealand about IDs, and I hope Monica pops on. They will explain more how necessary it is to have an identification to fight this vaccination crap that's coming up. It's all BS. When people say, oh, they can't do this, they can't. They've locked the world down. A couple of billionaires in America, the Democrats, the Clintons, all these ratbags, Fauci is a Democrat. Donald Trump has won the elections. He will get in with a bit of luck, hence the red tie. But these crooks own and control the sheep of the world, and the sheep of the world are bowing down and putting their masks on and say, look at us, we support you. And then they laugh at Donald Trump. It's so sad. And now we can identify the fools because they've got a uniform on, they wear a mask. So we could say, ah, there's another fool over there. But sadly, their children, they're the ones paying the penalty because they're having them now wear masks as well. So anyway, thanks for watching this. We got Common Law Court, that's right. Well, the first cases in the Common Law Court will have taken place January, February, because it's Christmas has come up. The Common Law Court in England is now under lockdown again. They've got all this BS going on over there as well. So John Smith is up to his eyes. He's charged the British Prime Minister, Boris, with fraud against the people and a few other charges and a few other politicians. So he's really flat out over there. We will be talking to the two marshals in Pennsylvania, which are now opening and running a common law court. And we'll keep it pretty simple. I don't want to bring too many people on because then it cuts the screens down so small that when you edit it, the quality of the picture is really poor. So we'll keep it down to as few, probably 3 or 4 people, because when we have all the common law court people on it, it's just really hard when you come to edit it, the picture is pretty poor. I will go live shortly. In the next couple of days, I hope, maybe over I don't know when, it's pretty hard, and try and answer some questions. But stop wearing the mask, guys. You don't have to. And here in Victoria, if you've got a fine, don't worry about it, because Fines Victoria, which was Civic Compliance, Serco, which owns that company, forgot to register it, and a very nice gentleman out the country registered it, got an ABN number for it, and they tried to take it back off him. And I've got a copy of the letters here and stuff from the solicitors. But in the end, they couldn't win, so they just deregistered him. And I assume by now, Victoria Fines has registered his company number with its company with an ABN number, which is not lawful. Remember, the infringement court is not a court, it's a computer. A computer is not a court. And you can challenge them by asking a few questions, which I did explain before, and it's on my YouTube channel. You can promise to play with clean hands and equity, but you've got to ask the question who the magistrate was. And there's a few things like that. Anyway, London News sign off. Thanks for watching. Dr. Barry will be back with during the week, I hope, with our friends from Pennsylvania and New Zealand in relation to what's actually happening. Bye for now, and thanks for watching. Given names in. John Michael. Doe is the family name. You do not put that in. It's here over here in brackets. Anything in brackets does not take part of the document. Then the address. Melbourne, Australia, New Zealand, UK, wherever it is, you're the Postmaster General for the communication while that communication takes place. On the back of the card, as you can see, you put John Michael in here. And very important under this here, read the writing under here, look these things up on YouTube. It is in your interest. What you're actually doing here with this is removing yourself from the fictional world, which is all part and parcel of what you need to do. Failure to do so will leave you subject to the fictional world, and you are the Doe, John Michael Doe, you are Doe, and Doe is a deceased state at law.